Hello, Seriah. Nice to have you on the show.
Hey, nice to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit about your show and what you do, please?
The show is called Where Did the Road Go? Started it back in the beginning of 2013, and it covers pretty much anything. Anything from paranormal stuff to consciousness, reality, how we perceive reality, back into like lost civilizations, cutting edge science, alternative science, anything I think should be discussed that isn't being discussed. And we try to take a wide angle lens to it rather than making any assumptions about the stuff. I mean, before I started the show, I got to the point where I said, we got to throw out our assumptions because these assumptions have been in place 70 years, 80 years, 100 years, and they haven't gotten us any answers. And I think it was a Whitley Strieber, it was maybe the Communion Enigma book. He talks about like a kid, the parents seeing a UFO or a fireball slowly go by outside, and their son comes down and says that his dead brother just visited him. And obviously, the if you're thinking, oh, that's a UFO, and the UFO somehow presented the dead brother, but I'm like, but what if it was just something happened that created this fireball, but also allowed the kid to talk to his brother, and that's how they're connected? Some kind of energy
Yeah,
plasma release hit and caused a fireball, but at the same time affected this kid's consciousness enough that he could communicate with his brother who had passed. And so that's how I started looking at things like how many different ways can I look at this stuff and come up with a different explanation? Like I'm okay with there being more than one explanation for this stuff because I think there is. I mean, there most obviously is when it comes to like UFOs and stuff. Because some of them are misidentification, some of them are going to be military stuff, some of them are going to be natural, and some of them might be something else. I don't know.
true. It's true. The more you look at it, the more it looks back at you, and it sometimes it seems like it has consciousness.
Oh yeah, no, definitely, definitely. And I've been an experiencer my entire life, well, most of my life that I can remember anyway. Starting with a Kundalini awakening, which is not something I believed in.
Okay.
I was not into chakras or any of that stuff. I just thought it was new age. Didn't even know what Kundalini was. Went about 10 years with it, making my life hell before I came across a book on it and went, "Oh my God, this is what I'm experiencing." And then was able to find, meditation practices and stuff to kind of work with it rather than fighting it. And
Sure.
I see. I can't say I've had every experience because I haven't. Like I've never seen a cryptid or anything, but I've had experiences where I've seen UFOs, shadow people, all kinds of just high strangeness, unidentifiable type of things that there wouldn't even be a good label for. And I try to avoid labeling things because I think it again limits your view of it. If you think, oh, this was this, you're no longer looking at what else might be going on. Um, I have an autobiography coming out, which only made it to about 1996 before it got too long. But initially, it was just going to be my paranormal experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Mike Clelland said about one of my UFO experiences, he said, "What was going on in your life at the time?" And I said, "I don't know, but I kept notes. I kept notes since about 1991. And the notes were there partially like something told me to keep notes. And I said, well, that's a good idea because that way, because I'm also working with like magic and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And this way I can see if I do this, did anything happen? And I don't have to worry about my memory being faulty because I wrote it down. The same with prophetic dreams, which I have a lot of. I wrote it down. So it's not a matter of me like twisting that memory to fit. And when I went back and looked at the UFO sighting, I went, oh man, that big UFO sighting was right in the middle of like the biggest change in my life. And then I went and looked at other events and went, I can't write this book without including the rest of my life because it's all intertwined.
Yep.
And so I had to start from scratch.
Oh, that's when you get into something and then you realize, well, it connects to this, and this, and then you have to put it all in. It You might as well start over and reorganize your thoughts.
Well, yeah, exactly. I took a totally different approach, and that'll be out hopefully in the next couple of months.
Excellent.
But there's a lot of stuff there, and it's a lot of weird stuff, and just some also fun stories from my life. But you can see that the points of change in my life are when the weird stuff picks up. Like there's definitely that pattern.
Would you say it kind of builds up and then releases?
No, sometimes it's just mixed throughout.
Okay.
Uh, it was interesting because I'm now aware of the solar influence on this stuff. And one of the comments I made right before a whole string of really weird stuff happened, I wrote, "There's high solar activity right now. I'm wondering if that has anything to do with this." And it wasn't until years later that, research was done. And like, I think it was Robert Schoch that brought it to my attention that in laboratory research with psychics, they found that the results were better during high solar activity
Okay.
because he
Well,
was able to look at the entire, lineage of in laboratory tests. And he's like, there's two answers here. Either there's a conspiracy among psychics to only do well during high solar activity, or the psychic stuff is real and is affected by solar activity.
that's true. A lot of mm, uh, newer newcomers to the scientific stage now are finding there are connections to psychic ability and physics and biology and everything. Basically, everything's kind of connected to
Yeah,
the paranormal.
yeah. And I don't. I almost feel like paranormal's the wrong word. It's just like it's the stuff we've trained ourselves to ignore for the most part. And some of us can't ignore it because it makes itself too present. But I don't think it's. I think it's just paranormal because we can't explain it. We don't understand it, but it's a part of the natural order of things.
I think it is. I when I was born, I was born without breath, so they resuscitated me, and I've had weird stuff happen all my life.
Mm.
Did you have something when you were young that happened that kind of started it for you, or did it just
It was really just the Kundalini.
okay?
It was a spontaneous Kundalini awakening. It put me in enormous amounts of pain, and I had no idea what it was. I went to all kinds of doctors. I'd have Kundalini hallucinations. I'd hear things that weren't there, and they were in the literature. It's the exact same things, but I didn't have the literature at the time. So, it happened right when I hit puberty, and I don't know why. I didn't have a traumatic childhood, so I don't have that common trauma factor. Everything traumatic that happened in my childhood happened after I had the Kundalini awakening. But I went to doctors, psychologists, all this stuff, and they all gave me a clean bill of health. And my parents just figured I was making it up, and that caused some issues.
Definitely that would. Um, my parents kind of downplayed a lot of it because I think they were scared by it.
Yeah.
We had UFOs outside of our house day or night every
Oh,
day
interesting.
up until I was 19. I've had weird stuff happen to me all my life too. When when you were younger, because well, this is off topic of what I had for us, but
All right.
when you were younger, dealing with this Kundalini experience and your parents not believing you, that creates some mental stress on you for
Oh,
sure.
massively, massively. But it also, because I wasn't going to school, not only because I was having issues with it, but also I was afraid I would have like a it would kick up while I was in school, because it would almost be disabling amounts of pain.
Okay.
And so the other reason was that I was in gifted and talented programs in elementary school. By the time I was in sixth grade, I was doing ninth grade work. When I moved over to the middle school, when I lived on Long Island, uh, they didn't have advanced programs. And I was already almost a year younger than most of the kids in my class. So my parents were like, "Can we move him ahead a couple of grades?" And they're like, "I don't think that's a good idea because the age difference is gonna mess him up. You know, he's gonna be dealing with kids who are a lot older and stuff." And so I went from ninth grade work to seventh grade work, and I was bored. You know, I could ace
That,
it they gave me. I'm like, I don't want to do this. Why am I here? You know? So between those two things, I stopped going to school for the most part. And they were getting threatened by social services, but they wanted to move upstate where I am now into the Finger Lakes
mm,
because they liked it up here. And my father's parents lived up here, but they weren't going to do it yet. But when social services started stepping in, they said, well, let's do it now. And we moved up here. And I think if we had not moved up here, my life would have gone very, very differently, even without the social services aspect. If I had stayed on Long Island, I don't think I'd be anywhere near where I am now in life. I think it would have taken a completely different turn. You know, like I think I was meant to be here, and that was part of the vehicle that got me here.
okay. Well, there's reasons things happen and a timing to them that we don't always understand until later in life.
And again, writing the autobiography, it's like, oh, look at that. Like that needed to happen right there, you know? Like you don't
Yeah,
realize it when it's happening, but when you look back and you look at the again that wide picture, you're going, "Oh, this kind of makes sense now." Like that sucked, but if that didn't happen, then this wouldn't have happened.
yeah. A progression of events that get you to where you need to be when you need to be there.
Yeah, exactly. And I always struggle with the idea of free will versus, not free will. And I think it's somewhere in between, but I think the universe will generally try to get you where you need to go.
It kind of guides you.
Yeah.
You
And you can
can.
either cooperate or make your life difficult.
It's true. It's true. The more you buck the system, the more it bucks you back, and well, you can go down some pretty dark holes if you push
Fight
it
it.
too far.
It's
Like
like going against the current.
yeah, yeah. So Anunnaki and the Sumer gods. What are your thoughts on them?
So my first real anything on that was an issue of Fate that had covered Fate magazine that covered Zachariah Sitchin's work. And I thought, oh, this is really fascinating. And then I went to the library, got one of his books, read it, thought it was yeah, very, very interesting. Like I was really hooked into it. But over time, it's gotten to the point, there's a site, a website, I'm assuming it's still up called something like Sitchin is Wrong. And part of the problem is Sitchin was one of the few people who could read Sumerian.
Mhm.
And apparently he wasn't that good at it. So he took, I mean, some of the stuff is still very interesting in there, but some of the stuff he took liberties with. And then as he believed it more and more, like where he believed he had the story, he kind of like had a bias toward pushing stuff into that story.
Okay.
Like the most obvious issue is that he says Nibiru has a 2,000 year orbit. Well, that would have been, what, about 2,000 years ago, we should have historical records of Nibiru.
Yeah.
But we got nothing. So he was probably, and the thing is, it doesn't even mean he was necessarily wrong about that. One of the things that I had presented at one point, Sirius may be a binary companion to our star. And there's a lot of evidence to this, and Sirius holds a very important place in most ancient cultures. And if there was a planet going around Sirius, that could be Nibiru.
It's true. It's true.
And so it might have a 2,000 year orbit, but it's just not around our sun. But it might come close enough that occasionally they interact with us. But I mean, I think a lot of it, at this point, I lean more toward them probably being another offshoot of humans like the Denisovans or something like that. And they were advanced, and whatever triggered the Younger Dryas apocalypse
Mm,
wiped most of them out. After things recovered, they came back and they became the civilizers. They became the gods like Quetzalcoatl and stuff like that. There's I can't remember the guy's name, but he wrote a book called The Shining Ones that talks about this too. So I don't I at this point I don't necessarily think they're aliens. I think there's probably some Assistion stuff that's accurate,
mm.
but I don't think they need to be aliens to fit into this model. I think we could be dealing with an advanced human race that was mostly wiped out.
It's possible.
Yeah. The because like I like Sitchin's ideas,
Hmm.
and there's definitely I think the thing that really got me is he talked about I think it's Uranus that is tipped on its side, or maybe is it Neptune or Uranus?
You're I think it's Uranus.
Yeah, I think so too. And
Uranus.
they don't know how that happened. And Sitchin from the Sumerian records, he said they claimed Uranus came in contact with with Nibiru, got knocked on its side. And I think he wrote that before we realized that Uranus was on its side. So if nothing else, they had advanced, either a history of advanced astronomy or they had very advanced astronomy, one or the other. I
True.
mean, when you look at things like the Antikythera mechanism, that's an advanced astronomical computer that we know came from ancient Greece.
Yep.
It couldn't have been like someone just built a single advanced astronomical computer. There had to be precedents to that. We
That's
just
the
only
thing.
found
Yeah,
once. What else haven't we found?
it's true. Um, I had the very good opportunity to speak with Dr. Irving Finkel of the British Museum,
Hmm?
and he translates the tablets.
Oh, okay.
And he actually teaches people how to learn to read it and write it.
Interesting.
Um, it's a Semitic language, so or it has a Semitic base at the very least. It could be the Proto-Semitic language, the Proto-Semitic language.
Okay.
It's basically the forefather of Hebrew
Okay. Right.
and well, Hebrew or Arabic. And both languages had the same root.
Yeah.
So for him, it's all to do with the languages. IFA is one of the building blocks of computation.
Hmm.
So, uh, and IFA goes back quite a distance, and then you get into the Dogon people
Yeah.
who uh, who knew who had a way of calculating star movement, and they knew about Sirius well before anyone else.
Yeah. And
And then,
that's another one of the reasons why maybe Sirius wasn't so far away at one point.
exactly, it could have been the scientists have actually said that there was one planet that got pushed, got planet and star developing that got pushed out of our solar system. We were in route to be a binary star system.
Yeah, and I suspect we are. I really do. There's an enormous amount of evidence that we are connected to Sirius.
Well, if you look at it through strictly scientific basis, our molecules in our bodies can exist in two places,
Yep.
here and elsewhere in the universe.
Well,
So,
there's a group called the Sirius Institute,
yeah,
and they study this, and they said the last time Sirius B lined up between Sirius A and the Earth's spin slowed and just by a fraction, which it doesn't do. And once the alignment passed, it went back to normal, which suggests some sort of long distance connection
Hmm.
between us and Sirius. Sirius is the only star that doesn't move in precession, and it's moving towards us.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's in every almost every ancient culture holds Sirius as sacred.
That tells you something. That tells you there's a connection that goes further back.
Yeah.
Um, God's archetypes and egregores. What are your thoughts there?
I am so torn on stuff like that. I mean, so the archetype thing, a lot of people are pushing that. I like Jung's work on archetypes. As far as like egregores and stuff, I think we co-create reality to some degree.
Okay.
So our beliefs, okay, one of the ways I look at this is when it comes to monster accounts, especially monster flaps, right? So especially saying weird like a lizard man, we can be fairly certain that lizard men don't exist. Um, and never 100%, of course, but fairly certain. But yet, there's this lizard man flap, and I forget where it was, North Carolina or South Carolina, something like that.
Yeah.
Um, Lyle Blackburn wrote a book on it, and I had to think to myself, like, how does this happen? What is this? Is this literally a lizard man, or is it something else? When you understand the way that our brain perceives reality, it doesn't. I mean, it's giving you very little of what you're actually experiencing. Otherwise, you'd be completely overloaded. It's
True.
also translating it, and it leaves a lot of stuff out. So if someone's walking along or driving along and they see something that their brain doesn't really have a place card for, right? Their brain goes, "I don't know what this is. This is this is a complete new thing. Uh, New things are scary. It's an unknown. It's scary. What's scary? Monsters are scary. It's a monster." And I think sometimes that becomes a Bigfoot, but in this case, it may have become a lizard man. Maybe they were exposed to the concept of a lizard man type monster at some point, and that's what their brain put on it. So now they put that out there. I saw the lizard man. Someone else has that same encounter. Now the thing looks like a lizard man. And eventually the energy dies down and it stops manifesting.
Yep. Um, Here in Victoria, we have the Thetis Lake Man,
Hmm.
which is an amphibious humanoid creature that came out of the lake, scared the crap out of a couple kids.
Okay.
Now, uh, reports say that it's a complete hoax,
Of
that
course.
someone let out a monitor lizard that they had as a pet and let it free when they didn't want it anymore. And so these kids saw this big lizard that had been feeding on all of the fish in the lake and thought it was a lizard man. But the thing is, they had like three other sightings of it after the monitor lizard had been caught. And
Hmm.
so, is that hysteria over it, or is it that they saw something else and they thought it was that, or
Right.
did they actually see it?
I mean, also, if you look at the one of the things I go back to a lot is the book, The Invisible Gorilla, because it shows you how much we don't perceive and how much our brains just like lie to us.
Yeah,
So, in that case, in that particular experiment that went viral when it came out, they tell you to count the number of passes that the team in white has with this basketball. Follow and count how many times they pass the ball. And while that's happening, a guy in a gorilla suit comes out, does a little dance in the middle of the screen, and then walks off. And 50% of the people never saw the gorilla, to the point where it made them angry. They were accused them of tricking them, and that wasn't there when they showed them the video again. They're like that. No, I was watching it. Our brains exclude stuff.
they do.
So when you do see something, yeah, I think our brain doesn't always know what to do with that. So it will jump to something like that. So yeah, if someone said they saw a lizard man and maybe it was a monitor lizard, but then other people encountered something weird, it's going to go to lizard man, you know?
Yep.
And I
Um,
think that's why we have such a variety. Like it's never like the same. The descriptions are always a little bit off because it's not a physical creature like seeing a bear.
it's
It's
true.
temporarily physical, but part of it is us giving it its definition of what it is.
Well, even if you, even in a group, each individual person will see it differently. Um, to this point, uh, uh, Vincent Treewell,
Hmm.
um, he told us a story about his encounter with Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And what he saw was a deformed bear, and what his wife saw was Bigfoot.
Was that the way it went, or was it the opposite?
It was that way.
Okay. It's been a while since he's told me that story, but didn't it have,
Are we creating that phenomena?
I don't know that we're creating it. We may be creating the visage of it.
Yeah.
Like we may be creating, like our interpretation of what we're seeing may be partially what we're creating. We may be giving it, I mean, I think reality is basically information. So we're putting information out there based on what we believe it is, and thus it uses that to kind of appear that way. There's a famous ghost case down in like Louisiana or whatever, where people have literally gotten to take decent pictures of this ghost. And the story is she was a woman that lived there, back in slavery times and so on and so forth. And it turns out this woman never existed, but yet there's consistent pictures of her.
Yep.
So it's like, what is that? Is that a tulpa? Is that something else entirely that we've given an image to,
Yep.
an expectation to? The Philip experiment is another great example of that. They created a ghost and it gave back the information that they put into it. So yeah,
Uh,
I think our brains are capable, or we are capable of, it's probably not coming from our brains, but we are capable of a lot when it comes to this reality. We are capable of a lot of reality manipulation, but we don't do it consciously because we don't know how to. The closest thing we have to it is ritual and magic and things like that,
mhm.
because I think that's the language it works in.
It when you work in magic, you find that no matter how you come to it, it kind of works if your intention is there.
Yeah.
And like I'm starting to do kind of like Gansfeld type experiments and things to put me in a mental state that I can travel. Um, Now I've been like a dream traveler or an outer body traveler all my life.
Hmm.
So that's part of my magical practice. For you, what was your magical practice when you were younger?
So what I didn't fully realize is that things were communicating to me in dreams. They were taking me in, when I was asleep. They weren't necessarily dreams, although sometimes they are.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's almost like what I call information hidden in the dream. There'll be very precise details. And I've gotten to the point where I can usually pick out what's what at this point. If I have one of those dreams, I'm like, okay, I'm going to write it all down, but I'm pretty sure these were the points that they were trying to get across. But other times they've literally just shown things to me, communicated to me. So growing up, I got a lot of that. And magic was one of those things, again, I did not believe in. I was like, this is BS. I don't think this does anything. I had started reading Crowley. I took some of those ideas. I could never really get into the full ceremonial thing. It just felt silly to me.
Hmm.
And I felt like if I can get if this works, it should work without all that stuff because I don't think that seems more like human invention rather than strict like methodology of what's going on. So I came up with my own type of rituals and things actually happened. And that's when I was recording. So I was able to be like, okay, yeah, I did this. And 3 days later, this happened. It's like, okay, maybe there's something to this, but I gotta, one doesn't count, like I
Hmm.
gotta keep going with it. And so my magical practice ends up being very much trying to communicate with things that appear to be guardian spirits of some sort. Sometimes it's dream work, and sometimes it's just asking.
It's true. It's
But
true.
I will usually come up with my own rituals that feel very specific to wherever I am at that point. And a lot of times it's trying to go along with that current we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Like what's coming up? What direction should I be going in? Like how do I least fight this?
Hmm. That that's the thing. There in the magic community, there's a lot of gatekeeping
Yeah.
and a lot of drifters that try to say my way is best.
Hmm.
But the problem there is magic is very individual.
Yep.
And if you try to limit someone's access based on your thoughts that, oh, well, this can't be real,
Yeah.
then you're limiting that person from finding something that would work for them. And so when you try to teach magic to people, it becomes very difficult because then you're putting your thoughts and your
Right.
your methods on them. So when you try to when I try to do it actually, I try to give like, well, this works for me, that worked for him, this worked for her,
Yeah.
and you say, okay, learn all of it and see what works, what resonates best.
And I mean, I basically was practicing chaos magic without realizing it was a thing.
Yeah,
And then when I came across chaos magic, it's like, oh, this is what I was doing,
yeah.
Like this is what means something to me. And yeah, and I mean, I don't really teach people magic. I'll do energy work with people,
Mhm.
but I always try to explain like if you want to be able to do this stuff, you gotta find the points where it connects with you.
It's
And
true.
everyone is different. You
Yeah.
can't, there is no specific guide that do this magical ritual and this exact thing will happen. No, probably not,
It it in a group maybe. In a
Maybe,
group
yeah,
in a
intent does
group
matter.
maybe. Because then you have people working together and their intentions kind of combine and you drop the probability of it happening to yes, it'll happen.
Right.
At least in some instance. Now, um, communal consciousness, is it real or false?
I think we're all interconnected. I think we're connected at a deeper level. So I don't know about like communal consciousness. I think we're all the same consciousness if you go deep enough.
Hmm.
Here, we're all having an individual experience and we can connect our consciousnesses. I mean, whether it just be a normal interaction or deeper levels of being able to connect. Um, and I've had the people I resonate with the most have all been different. Every experience I've never had like a duplicate experience with someone.
Hmm.
Uh, I had one friend who I could hear if she was going to ask me a question, I could hear it before she asked it. I couldn't read her mind,
Yeah,
but if
yeah.
she had a question, so and this happened in front of a very skeptical friend of mine the first time he met her, where she turned to me and apparently all she said was I heard the question, didn't realize she didn't actually ask it, answered her, and it had nothing to do with anything that was going on. There was no way I could have, picked up on what she was going to ask. And she's like, right, okay. And he's like, whoa, he's psychic. And she goes, I know. He does it to me all the time. I don't know why I bother talking. But I never had that experience with anyone else.
Hmm.
It was only the questions I'd pick up.
Yep. Um, my wife. when we first got together, I would finish her sentences all the time. It got
Yeah.
to the point that she stop that.
But yeah, like everyone I've ever resonated with, like I said, it's been a completely different experience because we're all very different. So we resonate in different ways. We have different types of experiences and different levels that our consciousness, I think, connects.
Yep. Um,
If you go deep enough, at the core of it, I think we're all connected in one consciousness that is the universe.
yeah, yeah. There's a few. Well, I listen to so much and I read so much. I can't remember exactly. There was a podcast or something that I was watching that they were talking about this, and scientifically, they're just now able to quantify that we may have a connection with the universe, that an energetic, some sort of energetic connection. But the thing is, we're made of the stuff that the universe is made of.
Yeah. Well,
We're
yeah.
literally part of it.
Yep. And most of it's empty space.
Yep.
But yeah,
Uh,
not only that, but I think that consciousness is what creates the universe.
well, there's it's Schrod-
Sort
Schrodinger's cat.
The only thing
Um,
I don't like about that experiment is the cat's going to know if it's alive or dead.
yeah, that's the worst part of it. It kind of sucks. It's horrible and wonderful at the same time because, uh, well, the cat is either going to be alive or dead.
And you don't
But
know till you open the box.
you don't know till you open the box. So I'm kind of half the glass half full. I want the cat to be alive every time.
And luckily, they never tried that experiment in any way. That,
Luckily, no.
is,
I like,
that's the type of information I get in dreams. It's those pieces, and I'm like, okay, that meant something. Like the one that struck me, uh, just because of the verification level of it. So I had a dream about this girl. She was important. I was going to meet her. And there was all this stuff in the dream, including a conversation about an electric bill. And I thought that was just part of the dream because it revolved around my radio station. I was like, okay, whatever. That's probably just part of the dream, but I'll write it down.
mhm,
And the first time I met this girl was about 6 months later. I go into the radio station. She's there. I know immediately this is her. And she just completely blows me off. Like she wants nothing to do with me. And I'm like, all right, that's weird because that's the girl I dreamed about. Whatever. And a few months later, she just stops into my radio show and she's like, hey. And I'm like, okay, this is completely different. Now, in the dream, so my radio station is staffed mostly by college students, even though it's not a college radio station,
yeah.
community radio station, but Cornell students usually run the management positions. So it's like a training station.
Okay.
And so she went, the first time I met her, she was 19. The second time she came in, she was 20. In the dream, it was very specifically said that she was 20. So the first time I met her, she was the wrong age.
Okay.
And then she came in, and then I found out when her birthday was, and this later, and went, oh, well, now that makes sense why you didn't want to talk to me the first time. And there was a whole story behind that that I didn't know, that had something to do with someone else that something I don't even remember the whole detail now, but like why she didn't want to talk to me at that point. And then now she was like the vice president of the station or whatever.
Mm,
And now she was cool, just hanging out and talking because it was summer. She stayed, everyone else went home. And then she became part of my show and stuff, and we became good friends. But one of those things was having a conversation about the electric bill for the radio station because she's like, why is this so high? And it wasn't until I went back and looked and went, oh my God, that conversation is in the dream.
that's the way it works. It's just
Yeah.
the details are fuzzy until they're not.
Yeah. Well, the details were very precise. I
Yep.
just know what they applied to right away.
Yeah.
I had an entire relationship wrapped up in a dream like 3 years before the relationship. And I didn't realize till after the relationship when I was just scrolling back through stuff and I went, oh my God, this is the whole relationship I just had. Like all kind of metaphorically rolled into this one dream that takes place in like an hour, you know? I'm
Yeah. It
like, okay, well, that explains that, you know?
when when it comes to time in in dreams, time in the other, time in shadow realms, they all have different modes of speed,
Yeah.
and they can all be faster, shorter. Um, like one experiment, I actually went and went through an entire life, but it was I th- in the the in the experiment, I went through the whole thing, but at the end, I realized I was just remembering the life,
Okay.
not not actually living the life. It was
Right.
memories, and like throughout, it was like I was jumping around. But when you remember experiences and life and whatnot, it's very messy and very random.
Yeah.
So it it stuff like this is interesting because you get a glimpse of the future, but not necessarily the exact future that you're going to experience because
Right.
it's jumbled in your brain because you're not meant to actually have that experience until it happens.
Yeah. And for me, it never feels precognitive. It feels like here's information that will help you identify this person. And then those like the rest of the dream has nothing to do like in that dream I was walking down a highway with one of my best friends and he just kind of like splits off and goes a different way and then I go to this radio station where I meet this girl and it wasn't my radio station but I met her and then at some point he goes, "Oh, I know her." And I'm like, "Oh, so you're connected." And shortly after that he kind of like moved. So he went away. And I was like, that makes sense. All right.
Um, Shadow People, the Hat Man, any thoughts on that?
That's shadow people I have encountered through my whole life. They're not always people. Sometimes they're just blobs.
Yep.
Never had a Hat Man experience in particular. And I don't know if there's really a difference, if it's just another form of it.
Yeah.
Uh, I used to see, and I don't see it anymore because this is the other thing. Like, I'll have regular experiences of A, and then they'll just stop, and then something else will start happening.
Hmm.
Well, it's like, okay, you're done with that. Now we're going to show you this. I used to see shadows dart out across the road, and they moved way faster than animals. It was almost always in the spring, interestingly.
Okay.
Um, but they were not animals, very distinctly not animals. And I'd always just think, well, these are nature spirits, right? Like I don't know what
Hmm.
to call them. They're little shadows, but they don't feel negative in any way. They were just darker than dark, and they dart across the road when I was driving. So I had a friend who I really never got into arguments or anything with, but we were having an argument in front of her house. And in the midst of the argument, a bunch of these things dart around us. They come from across the road because we're standing in her driveway. They go between us, they go behind her, behind me, and they just disappear around the side of her garage. And I watch it happen and I'm thinking, I wonder if she saw anything. And she just kind of trails off whatever she's saying. And she's like, did you see that? And I'm like, what did you see? She goes, like shadows, like blobs of shadows that just darted around us. And I'm like, yep, that's what I saw. Okay. And then the argument was over.
Yep.
Like it killed the, so, like, did something intervene to stop us from arguing? Or did the energy of the argument give energy to something to manifest? Or both?
It could be both. Could be
Yeah.
both. Um, I know we when we opened our altar here, I was the skeptic. I like my wife was into Pan and uh some of the other elder beings, but Pan w was basically where she started because she had the Pan tarot deck, and so she was, she was doing that, and I was being a skeptic and saying I don't believe this, blah blah blah, and be kind of being an ass about it. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting there meditating, and I feel a wet finger go in my ear. And it's like, okay, now I can't deny it. If
Right.
something physical has happened, I can't say, nah, nah, nah. Why would Pan come to us? Why would Pan be interested in us because we're the furthest away from Pan? But it turns out that that entity showed me to another entity who tried to kill me
Oh,
when she first met me. You know, like she literally put her hand in my chest and was gripping my heart, and the Pan entity basically said, "No, no, no, he's a friend," and she stopped. And then after that, we kind of worked together, like kind of like equals, even though most people, when you say, "Oh, I'm an equal to a god," they go, you have some ego problems, dude." But it wasn't that. It was more like we communicated on an equal level,
right,
even
right.
though they had far more age, far more power than I would ever have. They kind of treated me as a friend.
Yeah, I mean, I've had those experiences. Um, the only one I really talk about is Hecate,
Mm,
who I've had apparently experiences with my whole life and just had no idea who Hecate was. Again, when I started doing the autobiography, I saw her fingerprints through the whole thing, and I'm just like, oh my God, this has been going on my whole life. It's like she's been in the background, and then at some point she decided to come to the foreground and kind of just let me know she was there
mhm.
in very dramatic fashion a couple of times. But like I don't know that that means there's actually a goddess Hecate as much as again sort of an archetype or a or an egregore type of thing where this thing has been believed in for so long that stuff is there for something to kind of just fill into
Yep.
and interact with you. So, yeah, I mean it sounds crazy, absolutely, but when you experience it, it's not as dramatic as it sounds when you try to say it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've dealt with this goddess. It's like, yeah, okay. It's like, no, it's not like goddess like on a fantasy TV show, like it's energy. It's some kind of consciousness that just seems to take this form.
Yeah. Yeah. They're and they're not necessarily that one form. They can show themselves to you in any form, but once you've experienced them, you'll know it's them.
Right. Yes. The because the Hecate thing, I was being overloaded by synchronicities that all applied to Hecate,
Hmm.
and including one that kept saying, find me. And most of my life it's been like like those in most of the prophetic dreams I'm told you're going to find this person, you need to talk to this person, whatever.
Yeah.
And so when I started getting this find me synchronicity, I was like, who am I supposed to find? You're not giving me any information. I'm just seeing find me everywhere, like to a ridiculous point.
Hmm.
And I'm driving home one night, and I said, it's not that I wasn't trying to get home, but I like had this strong feeling that I needed to drive down by the lake. So I'm like, okay, fine, I'll drive down by the lake. And so I get to this crossroads, and as I turn left, or I think I went across the lake, and
Mm,
then that hooks you back, and then I went to turn right and to go north along the lake, which was toward my house.
mm.
This giant black dog is suddenly in my window going, woof. And I was just like, oh my God, what the hell? And he was gone. And I'm like, okay, big black dog at a crossroads is something. What is that? And I drove up a little bit and I looked around, couldn't see the dog, and I looked it up and I'm like, Hecate. What else is Hecate? Oh my God, Hecate is all these things, including the find me. And then all the synchronicities stopped. And I was like, okay, I got it. I'm dealing with Hecate. And I did see the dog again. It was chained up. The next time I went down there to see somebody,
Yeah.
the dog was chained. I assume it's the same dog. It was a big black dog chained up at one of the houses. And I'm like, so the dog got free. The dog was a literal dog, but the universe arranged it that that dog
Uh,
had paranormal connotations, you know?
mhm. That it's
As soon as,
amazing.
ha- big black dog crossroads, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That's something, you know?
It's kind of things happen like you said when they're ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like for me lately I've been on researching the Naga,
Okay.
and I did have a question here for you about the Naga. But I didn't know if you experienced anything with the Naga at all.
No.
Not. It's the legend. There's a number of big snake legends. There's the Norse legend of the world serpent.
Right.
Um, and then there's pretty much every culture has a snake related mythos at some in some way.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But the Myanmar legend of the Naga, it created the universe.
Yeah.
And so it in a way it's like the all serpent or the world serpent of the Norse mythology. Now, my first experience with the Naga was at a museum showing where they had a statue of Buddha with the Naga kind of bowing over him.
Yeah.
And I walked up the statue, and then all of a sudden I got a psychic impression of this snake kissing me on on the third eye.
Hmm.
And then, like a year later, I commit to doing a, a a journey based on the Naga to find the Naga, and it was a full initiatory journey.
Wow.
And at the end, it eats you for you to gain its knowledge.
Right.
And so basically, it consumes you, so you become part of it, and then you become you again.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of like the lamb meditation in uh, Thelema.
Hmm. Okay. I mean, Kundalini is also stylized as a serpent.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, my Naga knowledge is definitely limited. And I've not really had any other than the fact that I have Kundalini. I don't think snakes have ever played a big role. Every once in a while, I dream about getting bitten by snakes,
mhm.
but not a huge role generally in my work.
Now snakes biting you in dreams. That's usually uh, you're going to gain knowledge or something like that.
Well, that makes sense. I I mean, the animals I probably interact with the most are probably owls.
Yeah.
And they all, I've never had an experience where I'm going, that's not a real owl. No, they're all real owls. They just show up in weird places.
The owls are they're connected to the other.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
And uh, we have a ton of owls around here. Actually, a mated pair, we were meditating one day, and a mated pair flew up to the window and actually hovered in front of the window, hooting at us. And it was basically like, hello. And then they went off. And then we saw, I don't know if it was the same mated pair in down at the lake that we go to, Swan Lake. It's nature preserve, so there's all kinds of animals there anyway. So they had lots of food there, so obviously they go to
Yeah.
there. But it
I
go ahead.
weirdest one I had was there's an owl that sounds like a horse. It makes a sound like a horse whinny, and I can never remember the name of it. It is a small little owl,
Pygmy
but
meow?
it's huh?
Is it a pygmy meow?
No. No, I would know the name if I heard it. It's not a pygmy owl, but it literally sounds like a horse whinnying. And I'm talking to my girlfriend who's in Ohio, and she's sitting outside talking to me, and she goes, "I just heard a horse." And I'm like, "You just heard a horse?" And I have one earbud in, and that's what I'm using, and the other ear is open. And
Mm-mm,
she's like, "Do you hear that? Because it's loud." And I'm like, "No, I'm not hearing anything." She's on speakerphone.
mm.
And eventually she's walking around her yard. She's like, "It's an owl." I'm like, "What?" She goes, "It's an owl. It sounds like a horse, but it's this little owl. It's right here in the tree." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't hear it." She's like, "That's so weird. You would think it would pick up." And a few minutes later, I hear it. And I'm like, "Oh, I just heard it." And she's like, "No." I'm like, "No, I did." She goes, "No, it stopped making the noise. It was now coming from outside my window." I have never heard that before. She had never heard that before. And then it continued outside my window and never started back up where she was.
Interesting.
Like, what are the chances of that? Like, that's astronomical.
It is, but like we said, there's a connection.
Right.
Maybe it was the same bird teleported, or was she watching the bird at the same time, and another one appeared just to kind of
Yeah,
add to.
I don't think she was watching the bird. I think the bird just got quiet and she just forgot about it.
Wow, that's interesting. Please like, follow, and subscribe wherever you're listening from.